Happy Friday. Congratulations on making it to the end of the week. Today is Friday, April 15th, 2022. We are officially in spring if we weren't already last week. I'm William, coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, the Sci-Fi Center, right in the heart of the city of Las Vegas. Fighting allergies and everything else. By the way, this is the last broadcast that will take place in front of this boring red backdrop. We'll have some cool stuff here next week when we hit the air. A lot of news this week. Some big stuff, some little stuff. Moon Knight was pretty good. I'm enjoying that series with each episode. Picard wasn't, in my opinion. The last few episodes, I've had some problems with the way they've used to tell stories and flesh out characters. So it still has time to get better. We have a New Japan pay-per-view this weekend, and plus we're going to talk New Japan. I got a guest, if he can make it through traffic, that'll be coming and talk that with me. And I know you guys say, oh, what the hell, New Japan, what is that? If you're watching any form of professional wrestling today, there is no doubt that you have watched somebody who either got started with or had some very formative years in New Japan, but we'll go over that. But the big news this week just broke yesterday, and I've been on a couple other streams talking about it, is DC's overhaul. With the merger happening and finalizing last week, David Zaslav wants to go ahead and revitalize and overhaul DC Films. And it doesn't sound like it's just going to be DC Films. It sounds like it's going to be DC, the IP, from top to bottom, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to go into the article and read a little bit from that. You guys have probably already read it or been on seen another stream that has illustrated it. I'm going to be doing a little bit different. I will read from the article, but I'm also going to go a little bit further and think and discuss with you guys what I think this means and what I would like to see going forward versus what I actually think will happen going forward. But let me get started off in chat, see who's here, and say hi. Hey, that dude Vince, how you doing? Darcipio, Aaron Pitcher, thanks for coming. Jared's mother. Okay, Martha. All right, I think that might be a Martha reference. Hello, Mr. Wayne. So let's jump into this article right away, just because, like I said, everybody's been talking about it. I was on Poindexter Lounge talking about it last night. We went about 5 hours, most of it at the end going with this. And we are going to share the window, Chrome tab. And there we go. All right, so Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC Entertainment, exclusive from Variety. The new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most venerable entertainment brands under a new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the CEO of the combined companies, and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources said. Thank God. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development and Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have disparate elements of closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable. One often seen as punching up against Marvel. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted, by the way, before the merger closed, which means everybody who told you that they couldn't legally do anything before then, yeah, sure. Zaslav vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual properties with the goal of potentially finding someone to serve as creative and strategic czar, similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. One of those candidates included Emma Watts, a former top film executive at 20th Century Studios and Paramount, but it does not appear that Watts will take the job. One insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions of DC working more harmoniously. Insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger. Let me start over. Zaslav believes the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged. Yeah, $43 billion plus another $40 billion in assuming Warner Brothers debt, will rest in no small part unlocking the full potential of DC comics universe of characters. Discovery's insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and the Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters such as Superman have been left to language and need to be revitalized. That's true. We haven't had a Man of Steel or Superman solo movie since 2013. Superman hasn't been on a proper cinematic screen since Justice League. They were not talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, Joss Whedon's version. They also believe that the projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second-build characters from the DC library can and should be exploited. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example. Now, when he says second billing, I don't think he means like a second class. He means derivative characters. The Joker, for the most part, is you only know who he is because of Batman. Same thing with Harley Quinn. She was a cartoon character back in 1992. A Batman cartoon character. DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples include the HBO Max show Peacemaker, which is a spinoff from the Suicide Squad, as well as the upcoming planned series of Colin Farrell's The Penguin and Gotham City's Police Force. That has become Arkham Asylum now, I think. That's been kind of transferred over. So we're no longer getting a police movie or a police show. But the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fare, including bolstering gaming. Under Walter Amada, who took over DC Films from John Berg and Jeff Johns in 2018, the unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both the critical and commercial reception of the company's movie. He's under contract to the end of 2023, and I don't think he'll be there beyond that. And it could play an important role, whatever Zaslav has planned. Let's hope not. Zaslav has pledged to find $3 billion in synergies in the newly merged company, as signal of how important cost cutting will be to Warner Brothers. Now, when he says that, everybody thinks that he's just going to spit out low budget stuff. Even when you're cost cutting, you find ways to spend money on the things you like. Don't look for a low budget Superman. Cost cutting means there's other things that are redundant or things like that that don't need to be around. Those will get cut. But things under Warner Brothers that they want to spend money on, you're not going to see them cut corners on Game of Thrones, are you? No. So if it's something that they want to do, they're going to spend the money. So don't worry about low budget stuff like that. All right. So to help control spending, as Warner Brothers Discovery owns underlying intellectual properties, insiders say. Upcoming DC film projects include a sequel of Zachary Levi's Shazam, a sequel to Jason Momoa's Aquaman, the long-awaited franchise, really long-awaited franchise with Black Adam, with Dwayne Johnson, and a third installment of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, which I'm not holding my breath over. So that's the article there, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in Thade. How you doing, Thade?
I'm good. How are you?
It's been a rough week. Allergies are destroying my head.
I feel you, man. I get this spring
making it hard to talk. And I'm also going to bring in a buddy of mine, Armando Aguilar. I brought him in for because we're going to talk some wrestling.
Hello.
And hey, what's going on? I've been trying to get him on here forever, but we got some wrestling to talk about. But first, this DC thing. What are you thinking, Thade, when you hear this overhaul?
I think it's a good thing, to be honest. I think it's something that they needed. I think they need a strong person at the helm, and I think it's positive. I mean, I think in the end, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking a couple of different things. Hold on while I fix my sound here. Yeah, I see. There's a lot of keywords in there that people see when they say overhaul, when they say cost cutting, and a lot of conclusions get jumped to. I think going forward, you got to start with Superman. You got to start with Batman, and I think that he's looked at the company and seen that it's been almost 9 years since we've had Man of Steel. It's been 5 years since Justice League hit the big screen, and if you don't count Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's another year, and you just can't have the alpha characters on the shelf like that. It's detrimental. You have a guy in Cavill. It needs to be Cavill when they come back, because right now Cavill's a sought-after actor. In 2017, like we were talking about last night, a lot of people didn't even know. 2013, a lot of people didn't even know who he was. Now he's being talked about as James Bond. He's in The Witcher. He's been in Mission Impossible Fallout. Anything that requires a British super agent or a big buff guy, this guy is in. So he's got to be your Superman.
I agree. He's got to come back.
Yeah.
And furthermore, he wants to. So
yeah, and like I said, he wants to do it. The crowd still wants him to do it. As far as some of these other things that they were doing, another thing that the possibilities, if people are like standalone movies or a combined universe, I say both. I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I think you could have a core connected universe with anywhere between 5 to 10 movies. It doesn't have to be 20 or 30. And you can also do movies like the Joker. You can also do movies like the Batman. You can also do those movies and coexist with each other. I really hope that he attacks us with a sense of urgency that we just haven't had when it comes to DC films in almost a decade now. So
yeah.
But that's where I'm at with that. We talked a lot about it last night on the other round shows, but I think it's good news. I hear this, and I look at some of the people who've been making some of the decisions are going to be put on the sidelines. You know,
Yeah.
So I'm happy about this. But what do you? I know, Armando, you're not big into comic book movies, but you know of them. What do you think about this?
Oh man, I'll be honest, I wasn't paying a ton of attention right there, right there. But
I knew that was coming.
I've liked the DC stuff more than the Marvel stuff. Believe me, there's nothing wrong with the Marvel stuff. I'm not one of those guys that hates on people for liking something. If you like it, I don't. That's totally cool. I think I just got so far behind in them that I just know I can never catch up. And I still remember going to see Iron Man 2 with you. I think that was the last Marvel movie I actually saw.
Wow, that was back in. That 2012, 2013, so that's been a while.
Yeah, I had my kid with me. That was your old center. But I'm always up for it. I still, I catch them here and there, and I do have fun when I watch it. So I'm not a hater.
Yeah, while I have you here, because I know we got you for a little bit. Are you on the road? Or are you here in Vegas still?
Oh, I just got back from Albuquerque this morning or this afternoon.
All right. Well, I'm gonna jump over and I'm gonna skip around. We're gonna get right on my wrestling thing going on here. Listen, did you get a chance to watch the Samoa Joe match the other night?
Yes. I don't have cable at home, so I use a VPN and pay for the Fight TV stuff. I got to watch that actually live at my hotel room. I absolutely loved that match.
Man,
that kind of wrestling is just my thing, man. Like this, they beat the shit. Can I curse?
Yes, you can.
Okay. They beat the living shit out of each other and had a great back and forth, just mean guy battle. And I love those kind of matches.
And how did WWE not use Samoa Joe in that same fashion? They had me thinking he was on the shelf for good with injuries. He looks great.
Well, he can't do the stuff he did, when he was Ring of Honor champion back in the day with injuries, and he's older. But he's a smarter worker now, and he doesn't have to do that. He works more like a big man, if that makes sense. And he's a great big man worker. And the squash match he did with Max, I love Max Caster, but the way he squashed him, that was awesome. And then the match with Suzuki was awesome, and they're going to turn him into something. I just hope with the introduction of the Giant that doesn't kind of derail their momentum with him.
Yeah. What do you think? Because I never got a chance to talk to you when it came to AEW purchasing Ring of Honor.
It worries me a bit because Tony Khan's got so much on his plate already. And you would think he's got to save all his best stuff for AEW because he has to. I mean, that's the national brand. I think it's weird. I don't know what he's going to do with it. I have faith in him because of what he's done with AEW, but I am worried that he's going to burn himself out.
You think he needs to bring on somebody?
Oh yeah. I think he can be the guy that sits back and goes, all right, here's the matches I want at Death Before Dishonor or whatever. You figure out how to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's spreading himself thin, but I am happy that Ring of Honor got purchased by somebody who's actually going to utilize it, and who's half of their company is people who came from Ring of Honor or New Japan, and so they actually care about the company. When you see those guys wrestling in a company, they actually have, even though they left the company, they have a high regard for the product to the point where they approach it as if it's a jewel. So I do enjoy that. When it comes to New Japan, we got Wendy City Riot tomorrow, which I will be watching. You got Jon Moxley going up against Will Ospreay, which is I can't wait. The promo for that match has been great.
There's no way like Moxley does not have bad matches, and Will Ospreay might be bell to bell, top 3 in the world, maybe.
Yeah, and he knows how to sell these matches. It's they both do. What like I've been watching off and on New Japan for a while, not as hardcore since we've been watching New Japan World, but I knew of it and I watched certain matches of it. The circles I run in, a lot of people just don't know about it. They don't really refer to it a lot. And I think what I want to do is I want to try to bring that to the surface because, like I said, I got a list that I'm bringing up right now. If you were watching WWE or if you were watching AEW, you've come across a talent. So say, for instance, AEW, let's go down the list here of people who either started in New Japan or had some of their formative years in New Japan. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, John Moxley, Lance Archer. Those are just to name a few on AEW's current roster right now.
Well, also guys that have come in for the Best Friends.
Yes.
The Best Friends are now Roppongi Vice with Rocky Romero. He was Rocky Romero is one of the most underappreciated wrestlers in the world. The guy's so good.
Definitely, I agree.
And we've seen Minoru Suzuki exempted. We've seen Yuji Nagata on TV. We've seen Tomohiro Ishii on TV.
Yeah, Ishii, the tank. The guy's built like a small little boulder.
I mean, you know, Ishii isn't my favorite wrestler in the world, right?
Nah, he's not. But he still looks.
No, he's my favorite. He's like my favorite wrestler. He's my favorite wrestler in the world. I love Ishii, and he's fighting Suzuki at Windy City Riot, and I can't wait.
There's a couple lists on there. Like I said, most of the guys aren't watching this stuff, and I'm glad now that they have a TV deal here. Well, they sort of have a TV deal depending on what kind of cable service you have. They're on the same network as Impact or on Access, but hey, it's on American TV in most of the states. And then I got the the network and YouTube. You can watch it now. If you go over to WWE, this is where it kind of gets sobering. These are a list of people who, once again, either started out or had some really formative years in New Japan. AJ Styles, I wish he wasn't where he is, but he is. Brock Lesnar, Nakamura, Finn Balor, one of probably the most important people in New Japan. You have Kushida, who's in NXT. Xavier Woods was one I didn't think of.
He did some small, like 6 matches. I don't remember what he did. I thought he did some small stuff over there, but he
did. He was in several small programs, and believe it or not, The Undertaker and obviously Hulk Hogan have all wrestled matches in New Japan. So if you're watching wrestling right now and you're into the big two or even Impact with the Good Brothers and Jay White, you come across these guys, you just don't know where they come from. So there's this underlying influence that really doesn't get recognized. And like I said, with this pay-per-view coming up tomorrow, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to put it out there. So what would you have? Go ahead.
Real fast. New Japan Strong, their weekly kind of For American Eyes show they put on New Japan World. That show is wonderful.
Yeah. What do you like I said, I've been watching that show. If you, as like I said, we're both wrestling fans. If you were coming to somebody who's just purely watched AEW and WWE, and you were trying to win them over in New Japan, what would you say to that person? I'll give you the forum for a couple seconds.
I would very simply just give them tell them to watch New Japan Strong. It's a 1 hour show they put on their. I think they're posting to YouTube after the fact, but it's just 1 hour of good, fun, professional wrestling. There's no silliness to it, no goofiness to it. It's just fun wrestling. Like it's something you can sit back and enjoy. And I think it's something, for the most part, kid friendly. So you can watch it with your kids without the cursing or the blood. And it's just guys having hard hitting, good matches. Like of course, you had to bring the gold out.
and I'm not just like I said, somebody who watches a couple of snippets. I'm all in. I'll watch anything. I'll watch MLW, AAA.
Yeah, I will say though, for New Japan, this past year and a half, I'll be honest. Since Evil won the belt and the pandemic, obviously, has really hurt them. Yeah, because the fans can't cheer; they can only clap.
Oh, that's so bad. But
it actually hurts for a guy like Okada, who's such a good wrestler, because he really relies. If you notice, it really shows when he has that fans there. I don't want to say his limitations, but his mentality behind how he works his matches, because you can tell where he slows it down for the fan response. And he's such a brilliant wrestler, one of the best ever to do it.
When you hear the Rainmaker and they're just clapping, it's
but I think the one thing I do want to say, what is it, a House of Torture Evils group, has pretty much turned me off from watching in New Japan now. Because I think they're moving away from watching New Japan, But I don't watch the shows from bell to bell, top to bottom like I used to. Now I just kind of cherry pick the matches I want to see because I just hate the House of Torture stuff so much. I hate all the run-ins and all the interference. It is like that's WWE stuff, right? Like I get WWE doesn't bother me, but New Japan it just bothers the hell out of me.
Well, with New Japan, it did. The reason why I like them, and for the most part, Ring of Honor, is the matches tell a story in a way that it just doesn't happen in some of these other places. Like like I was telling you before, the Cody match with his brother, with that match.
Oh, Dustin. That match, I was there live, and I'll say like there wasn't a dry eye in that arena. It was just emotional. That was actually, I think I picked that as my match of the year that year because, I love the hard hitting matches. I love the spectacle. That just, like you said, told that story, had that drama. That's really what I love in wrestling is when you can make me forget for 25 minutes and I'm watching a scripted pro wrestling, so to speak, and just bring me into the moment with you.
Yeah, like even the match the other night with Joe, the way that match started out, I'm like, dude, you guys are a minute into the matches and there's 1,000 broken blood vessels on the chest for both men.
Someone counted, I think, 108 chops in that match.
And scripted or not, choreographed or not, those are really broken blood vessels. You have to go to work the next night.
We have no. I mean, and I'm sure I can speak for you on this too. I have nothing but the utmost respect for what pro wrestlers do and what they put their bodies through. Because I do jiu-jitsu and I don't let people just try to break my arm and trust them. They just let people do that kind of shit. Or you're just standing there with their face out, hoping the guy doesn't make contact. And there's contact. And with guys like all these Ishii and Suzuki, for example, they look like they're just out there killing people, but they're just hitting really hard in safe places. But you're going to be able to walk in the morning, but you're going to feel it for a couple of days.
Yeah, and back in the day, so you're on the road to it, and for the major federations, it's 260 days a year, and you're doing that to each other. And it was a wonder why all these guys, a lot of the guys in our childhood now are gone because they existed on painkillers and things because they were destroying their bodies. I mean, I don't know how many careers ECW cut short. And back when the chair shots were not chair shots, they were actually chair shots.
But it wasn't like WCW and WWF weren't doing hard chair shots too at the time. I would say ECW, like for a lot of those guys, they were only working 2 nights a week, which is probably better for their bodies overall.
But what they did on those 2 nights was kind of scary.
But at the time, WWF had those super hard rings, and they're trying to do hard chair shots to the head. I mean, look at what stuff like Mick Foley took, and stuff that like even Al Snow was taking and shit like that. But I know what you mean though. Like back then, someone had mentioned that people who didn't want to leave high school got into pro wrestling because pro wrestling is basically just high school for adults. Back then, it was like now like it's kind of funny because I wish the Undertaker would just stop talking, but he talks about how like it's not the same as it used to be. I'm like for the better. Like people instead of doing taking a handful of somas and drinking a pint of vodka, they're playing video games and shooting the shit and reading books backstage. So it's gotten better in that regard.
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple of minutes because I got a customer in the store. Hi, customer. You guys can't see him, but I'm going to start turning the camera around. But believe it or not, we are doing this show from a live retail location. So give me like 2 seconds.
I love that you're doing it while you're bringing out customers. That's like the most DIY thing I've ever seen. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's.
You have a Super Bowl champion Rams now, and you're wearing Cowboys.
I've known William now for 20 years, and nothing's changed. I mean that for the best.
I've known William about 3 months now. So
wow, there's 2 different ends of the spectrum.
I met William through Enosh's Poindexter Lounge channel, and
has it been 3 months? Ooh.
Yeah, it's been 3 months.
Seems like years, man.
I know, right?
I guess anything that happens in a pandemic is extended into dog years.
I don't know how to respond to comments on here, but Vince, this is it's just a Blue Yeti mic. I have an SM78, but I use that for off-road music recording.
Oh, okay. You guys are talking vehicles or something? Or
no, it's microphones.
Dude, mine. I just got mine from Amazon. I hope it's on. You can hear me.
Oh,
I'm a satisfied customer.
A Blue Yeti?
Yeah, I'm gonna upgrade a lot of the equipment. Like I said, I've only been doing this show. How long have I been doing this, Aid? What, about maybe a month or so?
Yeah, about a month. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, my first show was rough. Dude. I was talking to nobody for a good 5 minutes because I didn't start the broadcast.
that's,
And I thought
that's
I was doing great. I had the background music going, and I'm like, yeah, man. And I see people in the chat. I'm like, why isn't anybody responding? And I'm like, oh, start broadcast. All right, well,
Clinton said the only thing that stays the same about William is your store continuing to remodel.
yeah, you know what? Times change, man. I'm actually
Yeah.
going through a remodel right now. I'm expanding into a Star Wars section and a Star Trek section.
Oh, nice.
Remember how I used to have the screening room?
Yeah. I miss your screening room.
Yeah, I got rid of the screening room because we have so many places to screen here now. That I don't need to have a conversion.
Back in the day, half your movies you would show were from my collection. Back at your original State Street, then when you moved to Arville, then you moved to Trumpecan. I don't remember. You've been so many places then.
All set, man. Yeah, and I'm ironically back where State Street is. I'm literally upstairs around the corner. Thanks for coming by, guys. But yeah, it's a lot of it's changed, man. The industry has changed. Remember when I started out with the screening room, we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have Hulu, we didn't have any of these things, and we were showing movies like I was showing Tokyo Gore Police, we were showing Human Centipede. I mean, we got
Holocaust, all kinds of stuff that was it was kind of cool because it was it was very organic, very grassroots, and some fun crowds would show up for those things.
Yeah, we were showing. I mean, Gallo.
Next time I'm in Vegas, I'm gonna have to check William's store out.
Oh, it's a cool shop. It really is.
Right in. We were showing Deep Red. We were showing all kinds of Argento stuff, American Entertainment stuff. I mean, I would dig deep. I mean, Tattoo, the Iron Man. I mean, there was so much stuff that I would find because we were the only places in town that you could see it, and you couldn't go to a video store and pick up the stuff we were watching. I mean, because they just didn't have it. I mean, some of the stuff back when the region stuff, you couldn't get any of the stuff. I had to get it.
Well, if you remember, you're getting most of those from me because you'd call me like, "Hey, do you have this?"
Yeah. You would. I would come up with an idea to show a movie, and I would realize I couldn't find it anywhere. And remember, the internet was a little bit different. You couldn't. I mean, you didn't have these streaming sites. You didn't have anything that you could download it. You had to go get it. Some of the stuff we showed on VHS. I had a VHS player because some of the movies, I mean, Blu-ray wasn't even in wide demand.
It wasn't even a thing back then. It was just DVD. Yeah.
4K. There was no 4K. So when we were doing this, we would have our little screening room. I had a screen. I had elevated seating, and we would show these things on the big screen. But once Netflix and hit out, and like you said, and the internet changed, it got to the point where you just didn't need to leave your house to go see these things. We had Doctor Who nights. This was before Doctor Who was widely available on any of the streaming services now. I mean, you didn't have BBC, their own streaming service. You had to have an IP to watch it. So every Friday we would show an original serial of Doctor Who. So we would have 2 hours because they would air it in 30-minute segments. So we would show you the whole story each week, and we would give you like a paper model, like a TARDIS or something that you had to put together each week. But like I said, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, all the people who ended up buying up all those IPs, they now you can just literally pick up your phone and the same stuff we were packing the house with 10, 12 years ago, they can just go like this and it's over with. So, and some of that stuff is so experimental that, Dario Argento, people are like, some of these horror guys don't even know who he is, but they're watching Friday the 13th. They're watching all these serial killer movies. Like I said, a lot of it comes from those guys.
Well, and I do think all the streaming though is good overall for the industry.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I went to go see X in the theater a couple weeks ago, and the new Ty West film, and something like that, it wouldn't have been in the theater 10 years ago. It would have been. I mean, it would have been just straight to DVD or straight to video. So
yeah,
it's super cool
to see that.
With more experimental stuff get pushed into the theater that you wouldn't see before. That is great. By the way, X is freaking great.
That I need to see Everything Everywhere All at Once. I need to see that too.
Definitely on my list. I've been hearing nothing but good things about that. I want to see the unbearable weight of massive talent.
I got seats to that. Let me know.
Okay.
Let me know if I'll get with you offline about that. We've been giving tickets away to that. We just did a Northman.
Oh yeah, that's
Northman promo.
that looks so. I mean, I got the witch tattoo. I got the Black Phillip tattoo on my chest.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a huge fan of Eggers film. So,
and we're renting out a theater to do Doctor Strange on May 5th. So we're going to be picking some people. That'll be in a couple of shows. We're going to be picking people, some of our customers. We're going to, like we did for No Way Home. We did the same thing for No Way Home. We had people dressed up as Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. So I'm looking forward to that. So, but yeah, man, it's times have changed. And we were just talking about that because, like Clint said, I had the screening room when we moved back to this location, but everything just completely went digital. So now we have a drive-in. We can do a drive-in out here. We have a 40-foot screen. We have the courtyard. We can do a 24 screen, and we have our coffee shop that has one of our screens down there. That's so cool. I didn't have all these things even when I first moved back to this location. I didn't have any of that. These places aren't here. So now they're here. It's like I went ahead and permanently. I'm going to open up the Star Wars section on May 4th. We have a lightsaber duel. Yeah, we have a lightsaber duel that's going to start out in that section, and it's going to go throughout the plaza with the Sith versus Jedi, and then it's going to end up down at Fort Bedlam Coffee. You guys need to go there. And then we're going to play something Star Wars. We haven't decided what movie. And then Strange New Worlds comes out the very next day. The free comic book day. So the first week of May is going to be pretty exciting. So I'm just trying to get all my little remodeling crap done before then. So,
not to keep stroking your ego, but you also, people don't know that at your original location we're actually in the same center you are now. You actually brought one of the first like horror film festivals to Las Vegas with Polybias.
Yeah, we had Polygrind. We had the first year of Polygrind. Still in existence. And we did our own for about 7 or 8 years. I'm going to revitalize it now now that COVID is over. We did Black October where we just pretty much everything horror, kitchen sink. And now I'm downstairs. We have Hellbound Horror. Our plaza is cool. We got a whole bunch of eclectic stuff, but we got Hellbound Horror. So we're going to do a film festival with them come October. We've done Project Ripper where we took this entire plaza and turned it into Whitechapel, and we staged 5 murders, and we invited guests to figure it out. So you had to figure out who the killer is. We left body parts where we had blood everywhere. We even did the entrails with the rubber. I had a special effects guy help me with the entrails. And we had a uterus in a jar that you had to find. And one of the places that's in here has a picture of a uterus painted on the wall. She's an artist. And so one of the clues was find the uterus to find the uterus. So we had the letters. We had the From Hell letters. We had a police station set up. We had a butcher shop set up. So that's the kind of crazy stuff I'm doing in this particular plaza. So
you put on a wrestling show. You had a wrestling company come into and
yeah, we had a wrestling match in the courtyard, same place where we do the theater. We actually set up a wrestling.
You ducked me, but it's fine.
Nah, you ducked me. For those of you guys that trying to get wind of what Armando's saying, Armando's been fleeing me for years now. It's kind of sad. You know, I know I'm an intimidating guy.
I've challenged you for that belt several times, but you just don't want to do it. It's all right.
You're always out of town, and schedules never match up. And this belt's too heavy. This is a 19-pound belt. I don't think you can handle this. It looks good on me. I think the belt's heavy. And I got the US one too. So
you had that one. I was there. Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm going to have to challenge William for the belt.
Tell you what, man. I don't do it. This is. I think I might fight a little bit harder, dude. When I first got this is like because this is my favorite wrestling belt of all time, other than the big gold belt, the Ric Flair's belt, not the WWE scratched up version, but the actual one that Ric Flair debuted in '86 and kept all the way through. That belt is cool. That belt is a trophy, and it actually says something about your promotion that's this big thing like this. Like when Okada held this belt for 718 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous amount. He added so much prestige to this belt. Nakamura with the Intercontinental belt. The worst thing that those clowns did was merge those belts in that ugly belt that they have now.
Oh, I hate the belt so much. I hate the new belt with a passion.
And like I said, right after I bought this is when they made that boneheaded decision to change it. But you know what? I still love it. I still have it sitting in my store. I've had people come in today actually put it on. I got some pictures of people putting that in the US belt on, and then we talk wrestling, and which is a mistake. I'm going to put a sign up in the store that tells people if you have somewhere to be, like a flight or a job or something like that, don't get me started with wrestling, man, because we can go and I can go forever. And
I'm surprised we were pretty brief today, which is good because
yeah.
I did not know. Well, I did watch Rampage already. Fantastic show. The main event was really, really good.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet. It doesn't. It's on now here, but I haven't watched it on. I usually watch it at 10. I record it on DVR, but I usually don't get around to getting onto it till 10. I'm gonna watch that. I'll speed through SmackDown. Maybe there's gonna be something I see there.
I mean,
we got a Fatal 4 challenge in the chat.
What's going on there?
Williams got to give me date and time and let me know how he wants me to put him to sleep.
Hey, listen. I actually have video. It's doctored, but of me making Mondo tap out.
It looks pretty realistic, though. I was fooled for a minute. I thought it was one of those deep state fakes or whatever they call them.
And I know when we get into proximity, there's going to be an injury. He'll have a calf strain or something like that, or he's jet lagged. And I understand. I'm waiting for it.
I don't know about it, William. I'll be at my school in the morning if you want to come down. He's got to sign a waiver.
But you also have to realize this is pro wrestling. People cheat. And I'm not giving up my belt.
I mean,
right? I can have run-ins.
I can cheat, but still use jiu-jitsu. I can do both.
I'll have chair shots. I'll have a valet. I'll have all. I mean, it like I said, I'm not giving up my belt. You're gonna have to like you said, knock me unconscious, and that's not happening. So, so what's going on in the chat room? Do we have any wrestling fans in my chat room?
Yeah, some people talking about Sabu and Raven from back in the day.
Sabu. Oh my goodness.
I saw Sabu in Las Vegas at the Silver Nugget in '93 or '94. My parents thought it was cool just to drop me and my buddy off as 11 or 12-year-olds in the hood and let us fend for ourselves at Silver Nugget. And it was Sabu versus Cactus Jack in the original Desert Death match, where Cactus Jack pile drove Sabu through a blackjack table, and it's NWC, and they almost got banned from the venue because it was a live blackjack table at the time, which is a felony.
yeah, it's remember Buzz Sawyer?
Yeah, but I know Buzz Sawyer, but I can't say I remember him because I think he was a little bit before my time.
He died young too. He was crazy. He wrestled Cactus Jack back in the old NWA days, and they would use barbed wire for real. And then he had Terry Funk, who just could not let go of that stuff. And wrestling is fake, but Terry Funk is real.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I'm not the biggest fan of the modern deathmatch stuff because a lot of it is just violence for the sake of violence with no story behind it, and not all of it. So I don't want to generalize because obviously Omega and Moxley had a great match. Moxley had a great match with Nick Gage. I've gone to the GCW shows that have come down here, and they're violent and fun. But I think a lot of those guys got into deathmatch wrestling. Like Onita is a great example who started FMW because it was actually easier on their bodies. Meaning they could take a light bump into barbed wire and they're going to get cut up, but they're not going to break their neck.
Yeah. Okay. So, no. All right. Listen here. All right, Mr. Wayne. Fatal 4-way. That's easy. I can win that. I already have a strategy for that. I'm just going to be outside the ring. I'm going to pull a Hornswoggle and run in at the last minute and just roll somebody up. Okay. Let's make it a fatal 10-way. Battle Royal. I'll be the last entrance.
You're probably about as good of a wrestler as Hornswoggle, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm going to cheat. There's going to be more gadgets and stuff. You know how they always go into the ring and they're pulling all kinds. That's going to be me.
So you're going to be Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Okay, so WrestleMania this year was much better than it has been in the last 12 years. I had to think of how far I went back to where it's actually been good. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't spectacular this year, but it was solid.
I threw it on in the background, and I ended up stopping what I was doing to watch Bianca and Becky. I thought they had a great match. I thought Cody Rhodes' debut was fantastic and good for him. Like, I know people are dissing on him for going back to WWF, but it was the right time. He was getting kind of stale.
Right time and the right money.
Right money. He was getting kind of stale in AEW, and guess what? In 3 years, if he goes back to AEW, he's going to be even a bigger star. So good for him. And that was a really great match.
I thought Seth Rollins did a great job in that match as well.
Of all people, Jake Paul is a natural wrestling heel. What's funny, there's 4 people in that match, and the worst wrestler was The Miz.
Yeah, the Miz has become more of a showman, and that's fine. I mean, he is what he is.
The Miz always reminds me of a guy just pretending to be a pro wrestler. Like, I don't see him as a pro wrestler. I mean, if there's
I see him getting out as soon as he can.
Yeah, but he's generally a safe wrestler, doesn't take chances, and makes money, so whatever.
But he can do movies. I mean, he's done. I mean, they're not great movies, but who would you rather do? Take a bump or fake something and be an actor? I mean,
ask The Rock.
Ask right John Cena.
Yeah,
John Cena.
Look
at John Cena. All these guys are Randy Orton. I mean, I can't believe Randy Orton's in his 40s. It seems like yesterday he was in his 20s.
Oh, he's just a smart wrestler. He's a really smart wrestler. I didn't like that one thing. This is me just nitpicking on wrestling, but Dominic Mysterio came out with the Los Gringos Locos jacket.
Yeah, they were talking about that on the commentary, weren't they?
No, they didn't talk about it because they're not going to. But Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero, the tag team they were in Mexico, Los Gringos Locos, he came dressed like that. And I'm like, all right, there's no way the Mysterios are losing. Then they lost. So yeah, that's kind of dumb. But
yeah, you know what? I was watching an after show and they brought that up because it didn't even click for me at the time because I had that match on in the background. There was only a handful of matches that I was even interested. But it's Paramount, not Paramount Plus. Oops, it's Peacock, and I'm only $4.99 a month. I mean, it didn't hurt. Like back in the day when I was paying $59 and $60 for when I was a kid trying to con my dad into getting us WrestleMania. So if it was that level back then, I'd be pissed because that's a lot of money. But for $5, man, I can't really.
But I paid for every AEW pay-per-view except for the one I watched with you.
We need to go. Yeah, we need to go this year. We need to go.
I already have my ticket, man. I know. I'm disappointed, but we can do Rampage together.
You didn't hook your brother up with a ticket?
Well, no, I had to buy one the same day, and then I'll tell you offline how I got my ticket. I gotta get you.
Son of a I probably, you know what? I say that right now, and it's going to happen. The day is going to come, and I'm going to get slammed here, and I'm not going to be able to go. And
that's why I didn't get Dynamite. I'm probably not going to get Dynamite tickets unless I can get a day of, just because I'm with my luck, I'll have to go out of town for work that week. So
yeah, remember we had tickets to what was it, LA?
Yeah, to go to.
I was ready to book a flight, and then it was free comic book day last
year. And I ended up having to go out of town that week. So I was like, didn't even matter.
I was planning on being there with both of these belts, and we ended up being here in Vegas. But it's really hard when you have something like this going on, and you have May, the first week of May. Like I was just saying, the first week of May for me is huge. It's almost as big as Christmas. So I know better. I'm not going to any of these things, but. I mean, AEW, I'm going to watch Rampage tonight. I'm going to watch Windy City tomorrow. And like I said, I've been watching. If you guys have a chance to check out New Japan World, it goes back decades. The first match you turned me on was the Stan Hansen Andre the Giant match.
I was about to say, that match, I watched it on there. I was like, holy crap, that was so good, right?
Yeah, 1981. I'm like, dude, you're talking 41 years ago, and they have it there, and it's a good quality. And like I said, I watch their stuff. The only thing that sucks about it is I have to stay up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to watch some of the live. Like Wrestle Kingdom, I watched all of Wrestle Kingdom.
When I was working for Apple, I used to watch Wrestle Kingdom live every year. I'd take the day off and watch Wrestle Kingdom. Real quick, couple questions here. Aaron says they don't think Cody will be going back to AEW. You know what? I don't know. Like I could see Cody definitely spending 3 to 5 years in WWE, then going doing acting and doing stuff he wants to do, because he's always said that he wants to retire before 40. So, and more power to him. Like, it's the guy doesn't owe us anything. Favorite indie wrestlers, I'm a big fan. I'm happy he's back in New Japan. Chris Dickinson.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan, Chris. Local, Las Vegas local, Filthy Tom Lawler is in New Japan now, just tearing it up on the indie scenes like crazy. Another guy's got a lot of buzz behind him that I think is really great is Nick Wayne. Buddy Wayne's son. He's 17, already signed a contract with AEW. That kid is just unreal and just phenomenal. But
I like the fact that they can work now, because like I said, 10 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Whoever you were signed with, that's who you were with for the most part.
And also, I will say, I know like he's controversial, but fucking Nick Gage of all people, like seeing him live is unreal. The guy's got so much charisma and legit loves his fans and connects with the audience, unlike anybody I've ever seen, man. It's so cool. When he came out at GCW, they just assigned seats in alphabetical order. So me and Kel were standing right next to the entrance when he walked through, and just that place was insane for him. Chris Bay, Has been a local Vegas wrestler for a long time, and he's just a great wrestler. He's an Impact now and part of the Bullet Club.
Yeah, now he's going to be on that pay-per-view tomorrow.
Hammerstone, another local Las Vegas guy who made his name. Made his name out here, and now he's MLW champion. And then two guys I'm a really big fan of, Cutthroat Cody and his tag team Death Proof. It's a fantastic tag team. They do really good stuff here in Vegas. And
I know you and I went to the FSW show where John Moxley made a surprise appearance. That was a couple years ago in July.
Where Killer Cross was sitting in my lap.
Yeah, and his fiance fell into mine. I'm like, we got that picture we have. I wish I had pulled that picture up. I should have had that ready. That picture's classic. But have you had a chance to go out to any FSW shows since then?
The last one I went to, they did the I forgot they called it the cage match show, where they had a really great match with Hammerstone and Brian Cage. And then the main event was Chris Bay, and oh my God, I can't remember the guy who wrestled. He's a great wrestler too. That was a really fun show. The FSW shows for anybody here in Las Vegas, if you get a chance to go, they're so much fun.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get them on this show. Ahead of one of their next events. I'm going to try to get Tom to give me somebody or himself if we can. I would love to promote. And that's any local, if you guys are watching the show, which means you're really bored, but if you're watching the show and you want to promote your local federation on here, dude, just drop me a line. I'll have you on. I mean, because like I said, I know we have guys who do wrestling over here at the Sahara Event Center. We obviously have SSW, and we have a couple of guys that came in here one time. They do the shows downtown on 3rd Street. So I'd like to get them. I didn't have this show going when they were launching the show. I would have had them on there.
On our old podcast, we had Paulie Cover, the commissioner of SSW, right before he wrestled. He was wrestling Killer Cross, and that's when Lance. That's when I swear to Christ, like I know so much wrestling, but I can't think of names right now.
It's happening to me too.
Lance, big guy, Lance Archer.
Lance Archer.
Yeah, Lance Archer came out and beat the shit out of him. That was great. And that was when Cutthroat Cody was feuding with Funny Bone, who's a cool local wrestler. And Daryl, a big fan of House of Black, man. I think Malachi Black is just he's doing next level work right now.
Yeah.
So is Brody King. Brody King is such a good wrestler.
Yeah, Brody King, and they're all active, and it's good. Like I didn't realize Lance Archer was 45. He looks great. I'm like,
man, when I thought he killed himself on that moonsault, like I screamed in horror.
Yeah. Another guy that needs to stop, it's scaring me, fucking PCO. Dude, the things he does to his body.
If you went back in time and told a 10-year-old Armando that the pirate with the eye patch is going to become one of the biggest indie names and the ROH World Champion 30 years later, I'd be like, yeah, no way.
And he can still work and move, but I'm like, dude, how much can you put your body through at 52, man?
Man, well, you know what I still look at too is Samoa Joe. Remember when he did that freaking? He was fighting Sting in TNA, and he dove over the steps and landed on his back on the steps on the outside, in the stands. Like, dude, like you can't be doing that shit. You just can't.
He ended up paying for it, dude. Some of the best stuff he did was when he wrestled AJ Styles for the X Division, when he wrestled Christopher Daniels as well.
Dude, I want another 60-minute match with Samoa Joe, CM Punk and Samoa Joe.
Remember the one with Kurt Angle? This was before Kurt Angle started really declining physically.
Man, I still
had an hour-long match with him.
I have goosebumps thinking of when Samoa Joe came out for his debut in TNA, and Angle came out, and they ended up having that. They kind of worked like almost an MMA fight, and so good. And you know that
lasted a long time.
Well, that match, it was only 20 minutes. It was only 20 minutes. But that
Where
match
was the one that they wrestled? Okay, there was a match where they came out and they wrestled. There was a whole show planned after them. There was a whole show planned after their match, but their match went so long that they just went with it, and they didn't show any of the other stuff.
I don't remember that happening. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm saying I just don't.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you know, they say television time or 20 minutes, and I'm like, then they just wrestled. It was an hour-long show, and they wrestled the whole hour. I got to look that up because I'm like, these dudes went, and an hour is a long time to do anything, let alone when you're 200-pound guys that are just grappling like that. So I had fun with that, but hey, we talked. We went a long time.
I keep going. Oh, and St. Clinton. I don't think I've never made a cauliflower hour at Alley Club convention. I did go to the independent show they did 4 or 5 years ago when it was kind of Liger's retirement tour. So I had to see Liger one more time before he retired.
Yeah, and I like the last match he did too. His retirement match was great. That's on one of these videos. So we got to watch. I'm gonna have to do like a watch party of some of these old matches to get some of these damn kids that are appreciating some of the stuff that's out in the mainstream TV. But there's a lot of stuff that's really good, and it's different because, like I said, these other companies use their matches to tell a story that American companies use angles to tell.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
I'll just one last question outside the question. What do you think of Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green heel turns? I absolutely think Matt Cardona is like the best heel. He knows how to get under people's skin. And when I saw him at GCW, he had so much heat. And it was funny because Kel and I were sitting kind of by the aisleway, and Matt Cardona challenges any fan to get in the ring. And he points like right at me where I'm sitting and goes, "You." And Kel goes, "He pointed at you." I'm like, "Oh, no, he's not pointing at me because I'll go in the ring and choke him unconscious, take his fucking belt off." He's pointing at the guy behind me, obviously. The plant behind me, obviously. But I was like,
that would be hilarious.
I think that'd be a cool story. Like, what happened? He picked the wrong motherfucker that night. I knew what he was doing. But he was so good. He was so good and had so much heat in that match. Like, he brought this, obviously, it was this heavyset guy who was just training to be a pro wrestler. And by the end of it, the crowd was screaming and chanting for this guy because that's how good he is at playing the heel. So I absolutely love Matt Cardona's heel.
Yeah, he's everywhere. I've been ignoring my questions. I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's go back here. Everybody's saying hi. The only thing that's saying. Okay, let's see. I'm having an old man moment. Okay, that could have been any point during the show, so I don't know exactly when you made that comment there, smart asses. I'm in Vegas, just got about an hour ago. Dark Knight, yes. I remember you told me you were stopping by. I will be here for quite a while, and we're open, so look forward to meeting you. You can take a picture with my belts that Armando will never be able to win from me.
Just take the belt and run.
Let's see. Yeah, get on camera. Yeah, I'll take a picture of you with the belt. Like I said, if Mondo's ever in the area, you can be the ref that counts the 3 count or his tap out. So let's see. Yeah.
I mean,
good. I'm glad that we turned you on to some of these things, Clinton.
I mean,
what were you about to say there, Mondo?
I was saying you can watch William walk sometimes. I thought you were gonna tap out just from walking.
Nah, man, I'm in great shape. I've been preparing for you.
Have you slimmed down a little bit?
Yeah. It's all muscle now, man.
You're looking slim. It's good, man.
Yeah, it's all muscle. I don't want to hurt you because I don't want Kelly coming after me. What'd you do to my husband? I'm like, listen, he had it coming since 2001.
The funny story. My wife has known William longer than I have, and then we just ended up just meeting him. They worked at Home Depot together, and we hit it off. And the rest is history.
You were terrifying the first time I met you. First time I met you, it was Depot. You didn't talk much. You didn't have like right now. People are looking at Mondo like this guy looks friendly. This big teddy bear guy. Mondo 2001 wasn't a teddy bear looking guy. Mondo 2001 was Danzig looking for a fight, looking like a guy and real quiet. I'm like, hey, Mondo, I'm William. I work with your wife. I'm like, okay, hey, you know what? Next time, but he thawed out over the years, and then once I realized he was a wrestling fan, that's gonna break ice with anybody I know. I don't care who it is. There's a lot of us, but there's not a lot of us in random conversations. Usually when I start talking wrestling with normal people, they're like, oh, bigger eater, or comic books, oh, look at the nerd. But when you get around the brotherhood of one or the other, then you can just go forever because, like I said.
It's funny, as much as nerd culture and geek culture is accepted nowadays, which is so awesome. Like, I love the fact that everyone just does comic books. That's great. It's a great feeling. It still feels weird being a wrestling fan sometimes.
Because like I said, back in the day, we were made fun of. Unless you were at an event, at a wrestling event with your brotherhood, you were made fun of. Oh, don't you know that's fake? I'm like, yeah, I know it's fake. I know T movies are fake too. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is not really killing those people. I mean, but I respect the fact that he's making me believe it and putting me in the moment. You know what? That's fake. But no, when it's wrestling, I get. I mean, but now I've gone full tilt geek.
Motherfuckers will talk shit about wrestling. Like, oh, it's fake, and then act like they think that Sly Stallone can actually throw a punch. Like, fuck off. Yeah. If you think Sly Stallone can beat people up, you can't talk shit about wrestling.
Yeah, most people can't go to their job and make it through without, having to take deep breaths and sit down and all that. Can you imagine going to a match for 45 minutes and then going to, like I said, the last week with the Ring of Honor thing and the AEW thing and Impact, you had guys going to each event. The Briscoes wrestled FTR on the same night that they wrestled the Young Bucks.
And WrestleMania weekend, there are guys that'll have 12 matches over the weekend.
Yeah, they got to get that money.
It's fucking nuts.
All right, Mondo. Well, thanks for coming. Like I said, keep your safe distance because I know you're thinking about it. I know you're thinking about the moment you're going to sneak up on me, try to catch me by surprise, and get this your belt. But I'm always watching, man. I'm always ready.
Dude, I don't need to catch you by surprise. You know this.
I mean, there's a whole first strike thing. I'm ready. Every time I hear the little footsteps going behind me, I turn around, and it's usually somebody else. But one of these days, it's going to be you. It's going to be like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, except you're going to be the old.
Hold a second. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
All right, man. Tell Kelly I said hi. Tell the daughter I said hi. And
thanks for having me, Liam. I appreciate it.
We'll see each other at some type of wrestling event.
Definitely. Good talking to you, brother. Take care.
Good to meet you, man.
All right, so one geek conversation to another. I'm going to go into the chat room because, like I said, I'm sorry, guys. I totally neglected everything. I'm ignoring Anthony Beltray on purpose. No, I'm just kidding, Anthony. I'll get to you some of your questions. See, William, you could do a Deathstroke movie with a budget of $30 million. Simple. Yeah, you could do that, especially if it's an HBO Max, because you're not talking about middlemen that get the money. Whenever you make these budgets, you're talking about you're having to give the theater money. You're having to keep people get back-end contracts like guarantees and things. And then when you go overseas, you're getting even less of that percentage. So, yeah, you could do that. All right, so I'm going to go all the way back. Hello, Aaron. Thanks for stopping by. Mr. Wayne. That dude, Vince. Okay, that's me saying hello to myself. All right, so see. Live from Sunday, dude. Solo, I see William. Yeah, that's me. All right. So Joker was amazing. Yes. Birds of Prey was a flop. Yeah, it should have never been made. This is what, like I said, we were talking about the merger. Hopefully, these are things like this, like Birds of Prey, whether you like it or not. Sometimes it's the wrong time for certain movies. And if you like, the Suicide Squad was a good movie, but it was released without the framework of a story to tell, an overall story to tell. And people keep saying, well, we want one-offs and solo movies. Like you can't gain momentum with one-offs sometimes. You could do well. The Batman's doing great, but the Batman is doing great for the Batman. And the two movies that'll follow it, that's great. And maybe the little TV shows. But when you're talking about trying to get an entire atmosphere and people jumping from one movie to another, you need a cohesive atmosphere. So, and I think these movies need to be released in the order of that. So that people, like I said, when I left No Way Home, I was automatically in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness mode. So what do you think about that, Dave? While I look through some of these.
I'm sorry, what was that? Say again?
Talking about standalone movies, shared movies, shared universe movies. How, like I said in the article, a lot of people, they were looking at the success of Joker and the Batman, and what I'm saying is those movies do well for themselves and they're small little areas, corners of the universe. But when you're trying to sell an entire company, an entire atmosphere, the shared universe is the comic book way. It's not even the Marvel way; it's the comic book way.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Let's see, reunion of the Golden Lovers. Yeah, that would be cool. That was a great. I don't think it's going to happen because of those two men are on two different trajectories of their career, but who knows? Main reason I watch New Japan is because of Bullet Club. Yeah. That is one of the main reasons a lot of people watch because of Bullet Club. And even now, the Bullet Club is extended to Impact. You see members of it on AEW. But 2013, 2014, especially when AJ Styles got there, those 2 years of AJ Styles leading the Bullet Club from 2014 to 2015, I think were the two best years of his career, bar none. And that includes his Impact stuff. Say hi, Rhea. How you doing? Let's see. Hit the like button. I think I need to do it too. Film Goblin. She's saying hi to everybody else. That's them talking about. Let's see. Yeah. I didn't like the Texas death matches because I just don't like that gimmick. But those guys get together and they put together a good match. Hello, Dark Star. Damien, how you doing? Daryl Taylor. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Let's see. I know I do have some questions in here. Yeah, we hit on that, but like I said, when it's done, it's gonna look beautiful. But I'm a one man show. I'm my own carpenter. I'm my own driller because I keep changing my mind. All right, old moment. I do. I get to 70%, and then I take a look at it and I stare at it, and then I just tear it down. I got a mental problem with it when it happens like that. Okay, Dark Knight. We already hit on that. I'm just mean. So we're planning murders. You guys are talking to each other in the chat. Somebody's conspiring to kill somebody. So I'm not involved. Starcade 88. Let's see. Yeah, and I actually watched him wrestle not too far away from where I'm sitting. So that's when me and Mondo were talking about that. He's here. He lived here, and Austin Aries was at that match. Killer Cross was at that match. There was a couple of other people on that list, but like I said, John Moxley wasn't planned on being there. He wasn't announced, and he just pops in at the end of the show. And he was wrestling in a warehouse that's about as big as this room I'm in, and it was packed. These independent wrestling gigs, when people are in between contracts, it's great. All right, so a lot of wrestling questions. I thought I was going to be forcing this down your guys' throat. You know what? Here's a troublemaker. Caden William is an old man, so he's like super, super old. Just because you're 14 doesn't make it. I mean, Darth Maul versus Kenobi. No, me and Mondo it's a mismatch in my favor. So yeah, he would be the old Kenobi. All right, so let's see. You guys like my new avatar? I don't like cats, so no, I'm just kidding, Vance. All right, man. Do you watch Picard, Dade?
I've watched some of it. The more recent episodes have been kind of so I haven't really got. I'm going to try to wait for it to finish up before I go back to watching it.
That might be what I should have done, because I'm just not liking these last two episodes. I miss Discovery, and it's just too much. Yeah. I hate when you start telling stories using your childhood and visions and metaphors. So I had some issues there. So, but like I said, I with these shows, I try not to judge any of these shows by any 1 or 2 or 3 episode streak, or else I would have never finished Peacemaker, because Peacemaker's first 3 episodes, in my opinion, were awful, but it turned out to be a great show for me, and I'm glad I stuck it through. So, that's a pretty. It wasn't a big. Oh, what? Okay, I know this is a mistake, but here we go. Hello, Caden.
Hello.
What's up, Caden?
I put in the private chat that you guys need a younger point of view, but I'm like, you said I was 14. I'm not 14.
Oh, how old are you, Caden?
19.
Oh no, I'm 5 years off. Okay, and you have the voice of a 40-year-old, which is, I don't know how that happens, but you sound like Hal. Remember 2001: Space Odyssey? That's what your voice reminds me of.
Wow.
But this younger point of view, okay, the floor is yours, Caden. What younger point of view do you want to give me?
Well, like, I think with when you're talking about the whole Birds of Prey thing, I think I think the way that they should. I don't think that you should have titled it Birds of Prey, because that's kind of like, because it was.
Well, it was worse, wasn't it? It was the Fantabulous, whatever. I'm not going.
It was the emancipation of the Fantabulous Harley Quinn, of one Harley Quinn. It was like, that was the subtitle, and I think, honestly, I think they should have just came up with some like Harley Quinn title, not make it this long title or the whatever. And honestly, I think if they didn't take certain choices, or they were more open of what they did, like, if they were like, oh, this is like, if they didn't say this after the movie came out, if they said this before, saying this is a movie from the Harley Quinn point of view, then I think people would have been like, okay, yeah, like, I understand this. But they said that way after the movie came out, and people already seen it, and people already had their like criticism of it, to the point where people are like saying it's not accurate to these things. But of course, I think if they market it as a way of Harley Quinn's point of view from day one and had a different title, I think it would have been fine. It would not have flopped as hard as it did. But I still think that I think they should have marketed it different.
Oh, here's a problem I have with the whole Harley Quinn character, and I think we hit on it last night, is that character was brought in with that actress to tell a story that we never got to see told. When they butchered the Suicide Squad movie, they butchered part of her and Joker's story. Those characters were there so that when you saw them later on in the Justice League story, they had relevance. That was their roots. And you pulled the roots off of that character and then basically let her do her own thing. So she's missing her entire story narrative. We don't get to see her die, or we don't get that story backdrop. We don't get the meat of the Joker character. Regardless to how you felt about Jared Leto's performance, that was still part of that story arc that leads you to Justice League. These things are all meant to lead into each other, and when they scrambled them, I think they hurt her character. Because you just can't throw Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie on something and it be popular. Obviously, because or else Birds of Prey would have been. But when you tore out the root of her existence, why Zach even casted her and did all this stuff and basically divert the story, I thought it hurt her brand. And now you just put out a bad movie with a very popular character. You watered down her brand, in my opinion. So that's what it always goes back to the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, simple because these characters in their franchise is so disjointed because they never finished the story that brought these characters in existence to begin with. Right. I mean, we're dealing without a Superman for 9 years. Why? Because we screwed up our original story. We're dealing with a Flash confusing whatever we're doing with delayed and all that because we never finished the story that he was originally bought into. We never. So all these things goes back to the thing. So I think that going back to the original main topic was. I think just for the fact that just getting your storyline finished and using the finished storyline as a basis for everything else, that's why I think they should finish Zack Snyder's original story arc. It doesn't need to be 20 movies. Do the 5 movies that we set out with. Finish the story that these characters were originally involved into, and then go in every direction you want to. Because right now, these characters don't have a basis. So when they say, revamp or overhaul, what do you I'm looking forward to it, but from where? From what point? What universe?
And also, there's been many, I think a big, huge creativity problem with not, even though, her first 2 movies or, appearances were phenomenal and amazing, I think with her 3rd appearance in her movie with Wonder Woman, her timeline and her character timeline is so botched now because you had this introduction of her in Wonder Woman and in BVS with her being this warrior who's been gone for 100 years.
Badass. And then take off heads.
Right. And then you did Wonder Woman 84, which completely ruins that 100 years and also makes it seem like she's just some Donner Superman now.
Yeah.
Well, and see, that's the thing that I think that they should have started with more solo movies than they did before they rushed towards Justice League. Because like William said a little bit ago, you didn't have a story for the Flash. He's just sort of there, and Aquaman was the same way. The only ones we really got solo stories before the Justice League movie was Man of Steel, and I think that was about it. So.
Well, I agree with some of that, but here's the thing. I thought that they did the right thing by going into the Justice League because that was the access of the rest of the world. Once you combine them and then you go out. The problem is they never finished it. I don't think we would be having these conversations about the solo movies if they would have finished that because the idea was to get them introduced and then that they go on their own things with their own, like Aquaman was already in the works with James Wan, and all these other things are already in the works to go outward once the story was told because it was a finite story, and then DC could do whatever they wanted to at that point. They just didn't finish the story.
This thing, with Wonder Woman 2, you could have had that story of a continuation, but they went backwards again.
Yeah, to the 80s.
Yeah, to the 80s. And it was just why? What adds to her story that we already haven't seen,
Yeah.
And so it's just adding nothing to her story, really.
Yeah. Let me get to this super chat because I almost missed it. Hey, dude. Yeah. I can't wait to have you here. and have you in the midst of all my geekdom. So yeah, I can't wait to finally meet. And that's for any of you guys who make it out to Vegas. Like I said, I'd love to meet you. Just tell me where that you saw us on the lounge or on this show, and then I'll make some special time for you guys. Hello, Kinky Sphincter. Your name always gets me going, man. I don't know why, but that name is just, and especially if you say something, I have to actually say Kinky Sphincter and then whatever you type. I'm like, that's crazy. Let's see. More wrestling talk. Wow, we're gonna have to get my wrestling show going. There's a lot of wrestling questions in there that I won't be able to get to because we only got a couple moments. I got you got your old guy question, Caden. So yeah, there you go. Delete that. All right, so here we go. Anthony Beltre. Okay, William. People forget that the original plan was after the Justice League, the Flash movie was going to. Yeah, that was something that after all these happened, he had set it up so that if somebody wanted to come on and do their own thing, they could. But when you reboot something, that doesn't mean you necessarily erase the universe that's being told. People think that. And by the way, reboot is translation for bullshit, but that's another stream altogether. But they rebooted with Crisis, and guess what? We still have the same universe we did 35 years ago. 0 Hour, they rebooted then, but guess what? We still have all the timelines that happened up to that point. So if they were going to restart and retcon things, you would still have your pocket of time where Zack Snyder's story arc existed. We can't unsee that. So I would have been fine with that. So yeah, he's 100%
start
right.
making that Men in Black technology, then we can see it.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough. So all right, guys. Hey, thanks for everybody who contributed with questions and everything else. I'm going to figure out a way to go through and answer some questions that I probably missed because these things are going by so quickly. Hey, Caden, is there a way I can go back and I can answer questions? Is it just in the normal comment section I can do that? Will all this stuff show up there, or
I don't know.
We're doing live? I'll have to figure it out. But yeah, I got a couple minutes. All right, Dave, thanks for coming on. Caden, thanks for invading the show. Thank you everybody who super chatted and contributed questions. Sorry I didn't get to you all, but I have 2 minutes till I have to be somewhere. So, but I'm going to read through all the comments and everything, and I will try to respond if Facebook's or not Facebook, StreamYard or whatever lets me to do it after this show. I think you can. I see Campia do it all the time, so there's got to be a way. All right, guys. That is it. Oh,
I don't think he's in StreamYard. That's why.
Okay. There's no need to make 30 ordinary movies to tell you. Yes, that is 100% true. DC needs to do things the DC way. Marvel needs to do things the Marvel way. So I'm 100% in agreement with EJC.
That dude sent another super chat.
Picard's dad stuff really came. It did, but I didn't get it. Okay. Without spoiling it, I understood the context. I just didn't agree with how they got there. I don't like that type of storytelling. That kind of confuses me in the whole Vision stuff. So like I said, I'm in for the long haul. So, all right, everybody, thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join my little geek world and my little wrestling hybrid show. And I will see you next week, 6:30 Pacific time. And that's it. Say goodbye, Caden.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Dave.
Night, guys.
All right. See you later.